Coffee in here, please.
Damn good coffee and hot.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with the Dog. You make me laugh.
They make you laugh. I'm just here. Oh. Yeah. Let's get let's get that voice. Yeah. Scott Muni. I'm WNEW FM. The sounds of Led Zeppelin. Good morning, folks. I'm just being stupid here. It is, what day is it? It's Wednesday? Man, these weeks, these days, these things, they go by so fast. It's Wednesday, March 20th. 2024. Hope you're having a beautiful day where you are. A little overcast here. It looks like the sun's coming out now. Yesterday, turns out, are you with me? Yesterday was the first day of spring. I did not know that. They don't put it on my calendar, and it's a little early, I think. Generally, I thought it was March 21st. Surprise. Apple puts everything on my calendar except the season changing stuff. They got Holly, something called Holly on my calendar. I don't know what Holly is. You know what? They have Earth Day. They have Passover. Yeah, of course they have Passover. First day of Asia. What is that? First day of Asia Pacific American Heritage Month. They have that kind of stuff on my calendar. They don't have seasonal stuff. But here's the thing. I looked it up because my wife said yesterday, is today the first day of spring? I was like, March 19th. No, we got a couple more days. Listen, I'm all for spring. Don't get me wrong. Bring on the spring. Say goodbye to winter. I would have been excited about it. I would have been talking about it yesterday. But I was like, nah, you're crazy. It's March 19th. We got a couple more days. So then I Googled it. And the first Google thing I got was first day of spring is Tuesday, March 19th to Thursday, March 23rd. And I was like, Thursday's not even the 23rd. Somebody over at Google is smoking better weed than I got. Because the first day of spring can't be 3 days long anyway. And they got the 19th to 23rd in 2 days. So I'm confused. Are you confused? Well, I'm confused too. Playing around a little bit with the voice here this morning. Willie called me on Saturday morning. It was a morning after a gig. And he got the morning after a gig voice, which this is not the morning after a gig voice. My morning after a gig voice sounds about an octave lower than this. And it sounds like death. He's like, Jesus, is something wrong with you? I was like, no, this is my typical morning after a gig voice. People who know me know, oh, you played last night. I could hear it. I mean, right away. It's like the Crypt Keeper, but not like that squeaky Crypt Keeper, like Darth Vader Crypt Keeper. Anyway, I said to him, it's not like, musicians are not like comedians. We're not like little sissy boys going up there doing 5 minutes, 10 minutes, calling it a night. We're bringing in bringing in equipment. Generally, if on gigs we don't have roadies on, it was bringing in heavy equipment, setting it up, playing for 4 hours straight, then wrapping up that same equipment, carrying it back out to cars, and bringing it home, and generally the rides and all that stuff, and screaming when you get screaming literally when the last set, the rock and roll set, the loud set, um can be a little trying on the vocal cords, especially for me because quite often and lately I'm having to sing way out of my range to do high harmonies because we don't. Mikey fired a chick a long time ago. Fired. Breaking news, folks. She has never been told that she's fired. She went away on pregnancy leave. I don't think she's coming back. I think Mikey fired her without telling her she was fired. Anyway, breaking news there. Sorry to if you're listening. Sorry. Anyway, after a gig, I'm beaten up. Now, I talked about my weekend a little bit on Monday and how I was going to take a week to get over it. I'm over it. But the Saturday gig. Here's the thing: I was supposed to get together with Willie on Saturday, and then he called and said he did he didn't have a room, and he was out on the street, and he was looking for a place to get settled. I got no place to go to pick him up. Like, find your room and then call me. And he didn't do that until it was getting late. Meanwhile, I brought some equipment in, some different equipment out to the car, and the wife was bringing family and stuff here. And I thought, well, I should get the car out of the driveway because they should all get their cars in the driveway because I'm going to have to leave for a gig and they're all going to be here. So I did that, and then all the cars went in, and I put my car full of equipment at the end of the driveway, but it's blocking everybody in. About a half hour before the gig, I'm like showered up and ready to go, wearing a tuxedo because it's a wedding gig, and I can't find my key. I have one key for my car, and it's lost. It's gone. I can't find it, and I gotta go. Time time is of the essence, and I'm starting to freak out. And nobody wants to drive me, and nobody can drive me because I'm blocking them all in, blocking them all in the driveway. So at that point, I begin to panic. Like, I can't find my key. I'm going to be late for the gig. The world's coming to an end. The sky is falling. Chicken Little. Blah blah blah. So I asked my brother-in-law to drive me to the gig, but he's blocked in. So I have to move all my equipment from my car to his car, and then we have to drive across my lawn with the neighbors watching, like some kind of psycho redneck white trash trailer people driving across the lawn and out onto the street, taking me to the gig. Gig was at a resort on the East End here, where they have many uh, ballrooms and stuff like that. And it was a private event, a wedding. And I got there. He gets me there. I unload all my equipment at the main ballroom where I know the gig is, and I tell him, "Go ahead, come back in 4 hours and pick me up." And the maitre d comes out and says, "They moved the gig. Now it's on the state in the state. I have all this heavy equipment, and they moved my gig about a half mile away across the estate." And I just told the car to leave. And I got 10 minutes to get in, get set up, and get ready to play. So I have to run with heavy equipment. 3 trips now. I'm getting people to help me and stuff across an estate, running like a madman, sweaty, ugly, now in a tuxedo to get set up to play for a gig. So morning after voice after an experience like that just gets even worse because of all the stress and all that stuff. Oh, wake up, like, yeah, wake up, I answer the phone. Hello. Oh, Jesus, what happened to you? Nothing happened to me. This is just who I am. It's morning. So, but I'm over it. I did say I'm over it, but I'm still adjusting for post weekend stuff. Um, Good morning, folks. Yeah. Paul, good morning, Paul. Paul is a fellow musician, a great singer, and currently, I think, a bass player. He's also a guitar player. He plays everything. And singer with a couple of local bands and some touring tribute bands and stuff like that. He said, we play for 3 hours. Yeah, it's a long gig. It's not like these fancy schmancy comedians who get up there with a microphone that they didn't even bring the microphone. They don't carry anything. And they do 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. If they're really good, they do an hour. Some people claim they do 90 minutes. Those are people who lie. They make up stuff about their wives and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, we've had enough of the dirty, rotten liars on here. Anyway, the point is, comedians have it easy. Musicians have it hard. That's the end of the story there. Are you a stay-home girlfriend? I want to be a stay-home girlfriend. Stay-home girlfriend is a thing. This is one of the things I want to talk about this morning before we bring the gentleman in. Stay-home girlfriend. Now, in my Apple News app, I'm getting several stories. Stay-home girlfriends are having a moment. Stay home. I didn't even know stay-home girlfriends were a thing. I knew about stay-home wives. Listen, the Leave It to Beaver, the MAGA movement is all about stay home. You know, Donna Reed, mom stays home. Here's what mom does. Back in the 50s, and this is part of the thing they never told you. Mom would wait. She'd make breakfast, all that kind of stuff. Get the kids off to school. Get the husband off to work. Everybody's gone. She'd do a little tidying up and flick that bean like a bitch. She just come all day, and then look at the clock. Everybody's gonna start coming home soon. And then she get up, she kind of clean off her little bean flicking finger, maybe do a little more tidying up. And no wonder women were happy in those days. They were taken care of. They didn't have to really work a job, as long as the house looked like she did something during the day, and you could smell cookies when you got home. That really was kind of bean flicking pussy, if you ask me. They smell the same. Anyway, the point I'm making is they had it easy. And apparently they can do that without even getting a ring now. Stay-at-home girlfriends. I had wondered about this stuff because these TikTok bitches that just with the fake smile and they're just taking pictures of themselves all day. That's what they are. The husband's off at work, or the boyfriend. It's boyfriend off at work. They're not husbands. Their boyfriend's off at work. He's paying all the bills, and they're sitting at home saying, "I'm an influencer. I'm just taking pictures of me with a fake smile all day," and that's their life. Well, apparently, some of them are realizing that you're kind of signing a long-term contract, and if he breaks up with you and you don't have a job, you're going to be homeless. So there's, but it's in Wall Street Journal. There's stay-at-home girlfriends are having a moment. It's in Cosmopolitan today. There's another story about New York Post has another story about it. The stay-at-home girlfriend crisis in America. Interesting stuff for me. I would love to be a stay-at-home boyfriend. I'm a stay-at-home husband at this point, but I guess I am. But I'm not. I wouldn't. The point is, nobody's paying my bills. That's what I want, and I don't get to just take pretty pictures of myself. And I couldn't take a pretty picture unless they invent some new kind of camera. Anyway, speaking of pretty pictures, Stephen, the sitcom Ortiz is a pretty picture, and so is GD, and this guy's okay. Ron. Good morning, fellas.
Aw.
Morning.
Good morning, sir.
GD's got to do his thing.
Good morning. MindDogTV.com. Have you run out of fucks to give? Come to MindDog TV to get 2-for-1 fucks. BOGO fucks at MindDogTV.com.
All right. I don't give a fuck. But now, do you guys know about this stay-at-home girlfriend crisis we're having in America? Are you
I didn't know it was a crisis. I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't even know I was supposed to care.
Apparently,
I definitely need one, apparently.
it would be good. I thought you were a stay-at-home boyfriend, actually. But I guess a lot of them are finding out that the guys are coming over and or either cheating on them. You're stay-home girlfriend while you stay at home and flick the bean all day. I'm out banging the secretary or whatever I'm doing. But they come home, they're figuring out that once he's not paying the rent anymore, they're gonna really have to do something to earn a living, and then no, I've been taking pictures of myself on Instagram for the last 6 years. What am I? I can't put that on my resume. So it's all coming to a head at once. Apparently, like millions of stay-at-home girlfriends are finding out that they need to get a job.
We're going to need some intervention, just like the mortgage crisis. This has to be stopped before it gets started.
Can there be a government bailout of stay-at-home girlfriends?
I thought they were covered under the IRA plan that Biden had initiated. With
IRA,
with
the Irish
energy, I think
Republican
it's,
Army.
That one, where it covered infrastructure relief something. And since the stay-at-home people are the part of the infrastructure that they were covered, I thought. I guess I misread the law.
I guess you did.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know there was such a thing as a stay-at-home girl. Well, I knew that some people were wealthy enough to be able to. Because listen, in today's
I don't
society,
understand. Okay, see, this is what concerns me about you, man. You were like one heartbeat away from being the congressman in your district, and you don't understand the needs of your district about stay-at-home girlfriends. You were a heartbeat away from being a congressman.
I think that I was going to say it, that district. No, it's a mix. Because I was going to say that district is all money and old money, like old people with lots of money, and they'd be like a stay-at-home Viagra count or a Cialis, nurse or something like that. I don't think those old geezers, the old Brookville money, because they're all 90 years old. They don't have stay-at-home girlfriends. They have.
They would. Yeah, they would. If they have the Viagra, they would have the stay-at-home girlfriend.
Well, maybe they count
out in public.
Maybe they count their stay-at-home nurse as a stay-at-home girlfriend.
Right, that could be
multitasking.
But I'm just thinking the reason, because they're old, they've got it grandfathered in the old Donna Reed system that I talked about with the bean flicking wife who got old. Like that old woman that said to me, "Remember that time you tried to pick me up?" It's her. I mean, it's old bar hack, 90-year-old used up bar hack. I'm sorry, I'm really being like really mean to people. I shouldn't say that. She's a beautiful lady who is now older. That's what I'll say. She's not a used up bar hack. But the point I'm making, I guess, is it wasn't girlfriends. Yeah. So did either any of you guys grow up with a stay-at-home mom?
I did.
I did. Yeah.
Did you know that she was flicking the bean the whole time you were out at school?
Man, I'm still kind of stuck on the fact that you said that bean flicking finger smells like cookies.
Well, it does. When you come in the house, you can't tell it. There's something been cooking all day. Something's been baking. Is cookies? No, not quite. Not quite cookies, but something I'd like to have for a snack.
And then, maybe the cookies were baked.
I'm never going to grandma's house again.
What kind of
just don't eat the cookies? You can go, just don't eat the cookies.
Yeah, what kind of cookies are you eating that smell like sex? These cookies, they just smell.
You got me. You got me. I'm eating pussy, old lady rotten pussy cookies. This is where I go to the store looking for.
I think you said
the old lady rotten
wrong.
Pussy.
And just with that comment, your female viewership has gone up by 1.
Maybe. Maybe. I don't know.
How much yeast is in a cookie? Is there yeast in a cookie?
That's right. There is yeast in it. So there you go. It's an infectious type of snack. Or I don't know.
I've never been less hungry for baked goods in my life.
Yeah.
Well, that would have to be the worst come on line. Come here, baby. I'm infectious.
Come here, sweetheart. You smell like cookies.
You smell like the cookies my mom used to make.
You smell just like the cookies my mom used to make. Oh my God.
Just peek it up from between there and just being like, just like grandma, and just go back down. Oh God. Gross.
Yeah.
Oh.
It smells like an environmental disaster in here.
Well, at least that's nicer than some of the other stuff that is generally said about the vagina smell. I don't
Man,
know if it.
my mom went off
So
on
I say
an
vagina
angry.
smell, and you go right into your mom.
Yes, because my mom went off on an angry tirade on my brother once when we were younger, and she wanted to make sure that we were going to grow up to be straight men. She was in the kitchen doing dishes, and she said to my brother and I, she says, asked us if we had ever gone down on girls. And my brother
Oh,
yells out, "Oh my God, no, they smell like fish." And my mother goes, "They what?" My mother's, "I don't know what kind of woman girls you've been hanging out with. If they smell like fish, then there's something wrong with them. They shouldn't smell like that. They, don't they know anything about hygiene?" And my mother went on for like good 7 minutes, just giving my brother the lectures about if a girl doesn't smell good, she doesn't know anything about hygiene. And then she looked at me and she goes, "What about you?" And I said, "I'm fine." I don't want to hear that.
Speaking of vagina smell, have you guys ever checked out the Gwyneth Paltrow vagina candle?
I haven't checked it out. I've taught my wife didn't believe it actually existed.
Check it out.
Neither
I've
did
got
mine.
6 of
Neither did
them.
mine.
What, you have one, GD?
I got 6 of them. They come in these little glasses, right? Well, these are the empty glasses once you burn them out.
The thing is, it kind of looks like it. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I want to say, what does it smell like? Because
Cookies.
cookies? Does it smell like cookies?
Oatmeal raisin.
Is it sugar cookies or chocolate chip? I guess in your case, it would probably be chocolate chip.
Oatmeal raisin with a hint of walnut.
When I look at Gwyneth Paltrow, that's exactly what I think she would smell like. So that makes sense. Okay.
Well, she's
Now,
not a.
you can also get the special scented one where she actually smells like pepper pots.
She's no spring chicken anymore. I just want to say that. I mean, there's a difference between young girl and old woman. I'm sorry. I'm just being really crude and rude about it.
Keep digging that hole, Matt. Keep digging that hole.
I don't.
This is where we miss Willie, because this is where Willie would have inserted a 7-minute diatribe.
Well, I will say that. You know what I mean?
And in prison, where we had lots of it.
Willie should be here today because he's maybe not. I didn't check on him. Maybe he got on the wrong plane. Maybe he's in Wichita, Kansas today.
You make it sound like he's an animal or a child where you have to keep checking.
No.
Like, I didn't check on him. I left him. Who did I leave him with? I left him.
His migration pattern has changed.
I think I made it clear yesterday that he is a child. I mean, or a wild animal, because you can tell him not to do something and he's going to do it. You could tell him you're going to get run over by a train if you go walk on that track, and he will walk on that track on purpose. It's like he's definitely a unsupervised child in a lot of cases. But yeah, I don't know where he is. I assume he got on the right plane. We're just assuming it.
Maybe he's hanging out in the airport in Albuquerque. Like, I like New York so much. Why don't I try New Mexico airport?
Accommodations aren't so bad. They got full cable here, right?
Free
but
Wi-Fi. Do they have power cords? Because if you don't have power cords, free Wi-Fi won't do him any good.
No, he did. He did get in touch with me yesterday sometime and say that he found his power cord, and
that means he stole one from someone who wasn't looking.
He was really concerned about my demands on a Lord and Lady last night, and I was like, dude, it's your show. You do what you want. You don't have to do it. You don't have to. You could. I think if you postpone it for a week or cancel it for this week, the world is not going to come to an end. That's what I think.
He could always make up a best of clip and put that in the can and run that if he needs. I guess I'm not one to tell people what to do.
Mike says he couldn't get that far. He didn't have much money, but he was in an airport with a boarding pass. And my concern is that the planes all look alike. Like he got on the wrong train. He could easily get on the wrong. Easily get on the wrong plane. You would hope that a flight attendant or somebody would look at it and say, "No, you're not going to."
But you've seen those movies where the guy should be looking at the ticket, and at the last second, some woman walks by and tight red mini skirt, and he goes, "Yeah, go ahead." And that's
That's
and
what
if it's Southwest, you don't have charted seating anyway. You just wind up whatever row's available.
right.
Of course, I don't know what airline he's on.
Now, did any of you guys so just switching off to the cookie pussy theme of the day? The cookie pussy. You know what? That's not a bad idea. Mind dog cookie pussies, pussy cookies.
Yeah, Cookie Puss could make a comeback.
Right. Did any of you guys know it was first day of spring yesterday? First year of spring, first week or 3 days.
I
First
did,
day
but
of-
it also snowed for about 8 hours, so
in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
it did. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we had like a quarter inch of snow from it on the first day of spring. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, my calendar says spring begins.
Today?
It doesn't say what, the 19th.
Oh.
But mine doesn't say
Same.
what it begins to do. So
I'm going to do it again and see if I get the same result. First day of spring 2024. It says, now it's wrong again. It says Tuesday, March 19th, 2024 through Thursday, June 20th, 24. Thursday is the 21st. They keep getting the date for Thursday wrong on Google. This is it. It's unacceptable. I can't have this.
That's what happens. That's what happens when the Chinese run your calendar.
How about this? Spring, this is from Google. Spring is also known as springtime.
Oh, good to know.
For Hitler.
Wow. It's amazing. Spring is also known as springtime. It's an explanation. Spring, also known as springtime, is one of the 4 temperate seasons succeeding winter and preceding summer.
So
like somebody needs that explained.
So there's spring and springtime, summer and summertime, winter and wintertime, fall and fall time,
Autumn time.
autumn time.
Autumn time.
Okay.
It's like hammer time.
I thought hammer time was like Indian summer.
Okay.
I'm not that shocked they have that in there. I mean, there's videos on how to drink water, so I'm not super shocked.
You have to be smart enough to be able to turn on a computer and go to Google. You would think if you have that much acumen in your life, you know what spring is or springtime.
Yeah.
No.
I just go. I have a sundial.
I'm
in my
assuming
yard.
too much.
I have a sundial in my yard left over by the previous residents, and it tells me what time it is and when it's. As a matter of fact, I set my calendar and my clock, my phone by that sundial.
I'm just realizing we started in a bad place today. We should have started by celebrating Steven's victory from the roast battle last night, right?
No, I lost.
You lost.
I lost.
Well, we should have started by celebrating Steven's terrible defeat at the roast battle. Boo.
Now, what was the line that cost you your title?
It wasn't a particular line. It was the speed round at the end.
Y'all were doing speed.
Well, what happens if Fort Wayne stays in the Fort Wayne? But yeah, it was the speed round got me. I ended up puckering out at like 45 seconds and blanked on my last 2 jokes, and he routed off a couple extras. But it was a split decision though. It wasn't a clean sweep.
Now what happens? Does he go on to like the next round? That was the semifinals, right? So now the finals are coming up. Yeah,
that was the semifinals. The winner from the 2 semifinal rounds will face each other in the finals for first and second, which is a cash prize and a chance to headline at a show. And then second and third also has a chance at a smaller cash prize and a different booking, either hosting or opening.
Do you get a participation trophy?
Participation gig.
Oh, that's sweet.
That was nice. Nice.
So how much is the cash prize?
Oh, nothing crazy. I think it's maybe like $100 is what the cash prize was. It's just a little thing they're doing here at our little open mic that we have. So
$100.
Yeah,
it's $100
for the majority of the people in the area that go to these things. That's probably the most that they've made for comedy.
Also, it's almost as much as a feature would get at most clubs. If we're being honest about it, it's sad, but it's true.
Yeah, I'm working. I'm trying to get this booking completed at this one club. I won't mention the name, but they're an indie club, and for a headliner on a Friday night, they only pay $125.
Wow,
I
they're
could
not going to
guess
get
which
great
one that might
headliners.
be.
They might get great head. Actually, you probably can't even get a great head for 120.
You're not going to get a national, well-known name.
Oh no, definitely you won't for that. But it's just more of an example of like just how bad things really are. Because if you're an up and coming performer and you want to go to that club and they're only going to pay you that much, you're going to lose money just in the travel to get there and the
Yeah.
lodging.
Well,
Yep, 100%.
some of the headliners that I know, I have mentioned their name. This is the problem with me. I badmouth people without realizing I'm badmouthing. It's kind of like a no filter, Asperger's nonsense, whatever it is. I say shit that people get hurt by
You mean
because
like
I'm a dick.
the cookies and the pussy, right? Is that what you're talking
No,
about?
much worse than that. Well, that's a slight example, I guess. Nobody really got hurt by that. Well, I haven't gotten any hate mail yet. I'm certain. I'm
Yeah,
certain
wait
there
till
will
morning.
be.
Wait till morning.
I have
I still
just
can't go to grandma's for
the
cookies
numbers
anymore.
on the radio, by the way, the numbers are blinking, like all going up and down on the radio side. It's amazing how fast people are going in and out. Like, wait a minute, I can't listen to this asshole anymore. Boom, and then more people coming on and then bailing really quick. Whatever, I guess it's one of those days. Where was I going? Oh yeah, some of the headliners I've talked about on it. I don't understand how they do it. They're touring constantly, but I go to see them. Like they're from, let's just hypothetically, let's say they're from Los Angeles, California, and I go to see them in, let's say hypothetically, Brooklyn, New York, and hypothetically there are 11 people in the crowd. I can't understand how that even pays for airfare or hotel room, but they're doing it. Lots of these guys, people I know, are doing that. They're national headline. They are bringing people to open up for them, local people that open up for them. How are they even doing that? Because the economics don't add up.
They may have another gig in the area where that $100 gig is more like a practice thing. So they're getting paid like $100 to practice, instead of, I'm just
No.
saying.
I will say, no.
I said maybe. I don't know. I mean, what do I know?
Well,
Will has already established that I don't know anything about comedy. So.
Well, about Brooklyn comedy clubs, I would say, if you're thinking, because they do 2 shows a night at this place, but still 11 people at $15, and there's not even 2 drink minimums at a lot of these Brooklyn, like the makeshift bar comedy club deals, whatever they are. This was at the one I'm thinking of was at an art gallery. But so no, they do 2 shows and 11 people. Even if you do it twice a night, 11 people, $15 each. You got to pay your opener, your feature, your headliner, your bartender, your door person. It's just the economics of it just doesn't add up. Like hotel rooms cost. We've established that you can't get a hotel room for under $130 in
So are you
that
suggesting
area.
that the comedian is a mule? That somehow his comedy is subsidized by, let's say, trafficking jokes?
I think their stay-at-home girlfriends or wives are actually working wives and girlfriends, and they're just make-believe comedians going out on the road. Like, some of them, at least a couple of them I know, have significant others who are big earners. I'll just put it that way. I don't, because if I say too much, it gets really easy. My wife's a lawyer with a prestigious law firm. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I mean,
9 years ago, I used to subsidize my comedy by smuggling jokes across state lines to other comedians. So, I mean, we don't know why people.
But those comedians soon bombed and killed themselves because they found out how bad those jokes
but I had
were.
insurance on them. I had insurance policies on them. It's one of those things where you have to think 2 steps ahead and then push them over the 3rd one.
And some of those comics are working like Uber and Instacart though when they're in that town for a day just to make some extra cash.
Yeah, probably Uber drivers around the strange cities that they've lost in. That's why everybody's getting lost. Everybody's got an Uber driver who's from out of town. Uh, no, you have to have a rental car for that, right? Because if you, I don't know. It's a baffling mystery to me how they actually, because I could see you doing that for a while, but the guys I'm talking about have been doing it for 10 years. Like they did it before COVID, through COVID, all that stuff, and travel. Apparently, Alaska is a big destination. They go up there, and like these flights are not cheap, unless the airlines have just gone completely bizarre in what they. I can't see if you're taking home $200 from a club as a headline. Take $200 as your pay. You got to pay for a hotel room. You got to pay for your ground transportation and food and stuff like that. Where is any profit? You don't have money to send home to the.
Yeah, I mean, from like my standpoint, for example, if it wasn't for my wife working and then also being on disability, I wouldn't be able to do comedy.
Right.
Just
You
because
could.
not like
You could.
even I mean I could, but like even the shows that I'm going to and I'm getting booked for, they're paid, but they're barely covering gas.
Yeah. Well, it has gotten better since the days of Richard M. Dixon, where they paid you a hamburger for the headliners. Headliners
Yeah,
got
but it
paid
was
a
a big
hamburger and a
burger,
beer.
and that burger stuck to your ribs. It lasted a day or two.
So I asked yesterday on all my social medias, when was the last time you went to see stand-up comedy live, and who was the headliner? And somebody named Brian Raw Milk and Hard Assets. He's a Bitcoin dealer. He said last April, Rob Schneider.
Oh,
You hear that? That's the kind of reception GD's jokes get at every club. The- Rob Schneider was the headliner this guy saw. Rob Schneider.
Okay. All right.
My reply to him was sorry for your loss. Um,
That sounds
Ro-
like that was about the same time that Rob Schneider was doing the Magoobies tour too. Wasn't it
he
Rob
was doing
Schneider?
a lot of podcasting about out front. He was like on Glenn Beck crying about how the American dream is gone. I guess not the country my father built. Like, what the fuck are you whining about? You got a stay-at-home girlfriend. Life can't be that bad in America.
Yeah,
This whole Tim Scott calling it now. He called it a utopian dream is our nightmare. I think he mixes up the word utopian and dystopian. But what in America is really all that bad that we're crying about? Oh, it's the end of the world. It's terrible. Like, stop your fucking whining. You got a stay-at-home girlfriend taking pictures and posting it on internet, and you come home and
Tim
you
Scott
either
does not
got
have a
cookies or
stay-at-home
pussy.
girlfriend.
Life is good.
Tim
yeah.
Scott has a rented home girlfriend, doesn't he?
Well, he's got boyfriend in his case, but maybe Lindsey Graham is actually waiting at Tim Scott's house when he gets home, and it
With
doesn't smell like cookies. It smells like ass. Smells like,
Rob Schneider is definitely he has gone the way of Gallagher without the death so far, but he's definitely gone the way of Gallagher. He's just an angry, bitter guy who's upset that he's not, I guess, higher on the food chain in comedy.
yeah. I can't imagine him ever doing like stand up. I mean, know the character bits he did on SNL, and I would never watch SNL, but I know of the character bits that he did on that, and I can't imagine he was.
Actually, I didn't even know he was on SNL.
Wow.
Honestly,
That's all he's really famous for. I mean, other than that movie, some weird movie where I forget.
Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong guy. I thought Rob Schneider was the guy that was in the Adam Sandler movies. I thought he was like Adam Sandler's friend.
He is.
Rob Schneider.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he does have it.
Go ahead.
I was going to say he does have like one Netflix special, and he recently released another comedy special, but that was on like Fox News streaming or whatever. It's out.
Yeah.
Same place Roseanne's showing up now.
Yeah. So one of the replies, there were lots and lots of replies on Twitter, not so much on Facebook, Instagram a little bit, but on Twitter, Michael Ian Black, Michael Ian Black, I think Scrubs or something like that.
Mhm.
He replied to me, "Thanks, man, means a lot." Now, the post I said was, "What was the last uh, what was the last time you saw stand-up comedy live, and who was the headliner?" And his reply is, "Thanks, man, means a lot." Can you anybody figure out what he means by that?
He was responding to 4 posts prior to that. I
No,
have
he
no
just
idea.
replied directly to me.
Oh,
I,
Like the
I wouldn't
comedian
is he
even
shopping
know.
Michael
for
Ian
him?
Black.
Huh? What was that? Dave Attell. Dave Attell down there in the corner. Ron. What was that?
Did you say it was from the comedian Michael Ian Black?
Yeah, Michael Ian Black. Yeah.
That I don't know. That actually kind of seems like a typical response from.
Thanks, man. Means a lot.
Yeah,
Like,
that's.
what are you trying to say?
How you doing today, man? Thanks, man. Means a lot.
Yeah. Some of the responses though. So Nick Swarden in Manahawneman, Minnesota, a few years ago. These are the last time people saw stand-up comedy. Louis Black 10 days ago. Nate Bargatze. How do you say it? Bargatze or Bargatze? 7 or 8 months ago in Raleigh, North Carolina. Nate is very good. But some of the responses, like I've never heard of some of these people they're talking about. Edgar Sandoval. I don't know him. Do you know him? Edgar
I had no
Sandoval.
idea.
Doug Stanhope. Quite a few people. Doug Stanhope.
One of my favorites.
Somebody said Mann, Levine, Andrus, Davis, and Stanhope. That's Craig Johnson from Albuquerque. Man he's talking about is Call Man. But a lot of these responses I never heard of. I'm not going to go through them all, but a lot of them I never heard of some of these people, and they're so few and far between. It's like, how are these comedy rooms filled up if all these people are seeing obscure people 8 years ago? Like, when was the last time you went to see? Maybe it's because my following is just old grumpy people who think they're funnier than
It's your following, because otherwise, if comedy didn't have more followers on that, it would have already been taken over by a third world potentate.
Interesting enough, nobody said G.D. Fenderson, not one person.
No.
So,
but that's because the people that would have seen me are probably so busy still laughing from the last time that
they're
they
probably
can't even get
still
out of bed.
sleeping. They're probably still snoring from the boredom.
That's true. Also, that is very possible. I have been known to induce comatose conditions in the audience.
Like melatonin Fenderson. That should be your. That's the one that puts you to sleep, right? Melatonin. Yeah. Now moving on, changing subjects again. We'll see how I just veer off, right? Just eat.
Yeah.
RFQ. Now Ron does a better RFQ than me, obviously. I don't know.
And he does it without the finger. He doesn't even.
Well, he does it with like he's taking a shit. RFQ.
What he does, the secret
I do the
Ron's
Catherine Hepburn on Golden Pond version of RFQ.
The secret to Ron's is that he actually takes beard whiskers and puts them in his throat just before he trims a little, puts the beard whiskers in, and it gets that scratchiness going.
Well, he's on Twitter. When I read his post on Twitter, I hear him like, "What this is." He's on Twitter all day long on my feed, all fucking like hundreds and hundreds of posts on Twitter, and he's complaining about how Twitter is censoring him and throttling his posts so nobody sees his posts. I was like, if this is censorship, you should pay for it, because you're getting more publicity than a PR firm could ever supply you with, because all I do is see your posts more than anything else. Now I know you guys are not on Twitter.
That really gets my goat with the people who are on Fox News and OAN and CNN and saying that they're being censored, when meanwhile we're seeing them every fucking where.
Right.
And then their supporters are going, yeah, they're being censored. It's like, yeah, I can't walk through the truck stop without seeing their face on every television set. I can't walk through an airport without seeing their face on every television set saying they're being censored.
Right. I agree. I mean, it's like I'm so sensitive. Well, why the fuck am I hearing you if you're sensitive? If I can hear you, you're not being silenced.
I just want to
If
see
I-
these. I just want to see these people go to Russia and experience real censorship, or China,
Yeah.
and come back and be like, "You still censored?
Yeah,
Huh?"
yeah.
Well,
Because it's not. It's not even the
according
same
to
thing.
Tucker Carlson, there is no censorship over there.
I heard him say that too, and that I would believe that if they weren't arresting like reporters.
If they
Right.
weren't censoring him to make sure that he
Yeah.
said that.
But the subject matter of the day is moderation on social media platforms, and they're calling that censorship. Now, I know you guys are probably going to disagree with me on some of this stuff, and that's fine. You're
If you
allowed
tell
to
us to,
disagree with
sure.
me. I won't take
You're
my
the boss.
StreamYard
If
and
you
go
tell
home.
us to disagree, we'll disagree. You're the boss.
That's fine. You're allowed to disagree. Please disagree if you feel so inclined to disagree.
You're the boss.
I am not the boss. Bruce Springsteen is the boss. I am El Capitan or something.
El Capitan.
I'm El Douche. I'm El Douchebag.
Ya bon.
By the way, I could go for a cookie. Uh,
Wait a
Cookies
minute.
and
I think I may have one down here. No.
I've been moderated by every single one of these platforms. I don't have a problem
Same.
with that. I don't equate that with censorship. When the government gets involved, I definitely equate that with censorship. But I
Right.
think like when YouTube shut me down because of that crazy woman who said there's a camera in your television and the vaccine is going to make us half robot and whatever, all the crazy shit she was saying. Like I had a disclaimer. I pushed back on it, but I get it. YouTube, you own the platform. Free speech does not mean a free microphone and a free platform. Nobody is born with the right to get up and use my PA system.
Well, I think it's wild that people use these platforms that are owned by people. They're almost like private property. And then
Right.
they get upset when they get moderated. It's like, well, free speech, you can go do that on the sidewalk right now. No one's going to
Yeah.
stop you. But
Yeah.
online, you're using somebody's platform as a stage. Of course, they're going to shut you down if you start saying some dumbass shit like vaccines make you retarded and things like that. Like, of course, they're going to shut that down. Like,
Right.
I wouldn't want to be connected with that either.
Looks like Ron wants to say something, but before I just want to say,
Well,
if
that's
you
gas.
went
I've
into
seen
a
that
comedy
before.
club and just went to walk up on the stage, they'd probably smack you in the ass and say, "Get off the fucking stage." If it was open mic night, you got to sign up, and they always have the right to give you the light and say, "Get the fuck off my stage."
Mhm. Yeah.
So I equated a lot with that, and so it's just this idea of the problem. I think is where do we draw? I think moderation is necessary. If somebody's being bullied to the point where they're going to commit, a kid, let's say, is being bullied or shamed to the point where they're going to commit suicide or something like that, I think a moderator has the duty to step in and say, this is getting carried away, whatever. It's got to be a human thing, though. It can't be by bots saying you said a political buzzword that we need to shut you down and we're gonna cancel you for a week because you said such and such word, which is on our list that the robots.
I agree.
detected.
If you're not going to chip in for the funeral or anything like that, you shouldn't be trying to induce people to commit suicide. That's wrong.
But if you are chipping in for the funeral, you can do it.
Then I think
So a hefty donation and
have
you're
a
good to
vested
go.
interest. Then you have a vested interest.
Wow, pretty fucking
You're just
cold.
I just feel like you're looking for a return on investment with the life insurance at this point.
Yeah.
Got to do
What's
what
the
you gotta
ROI
do.
on bullying this kid? Like, what's the ROI here? Because I figure out what I'm getting out of this thing.
Ron, did you have something to say, or I'm just assuming
Yes.
you had something?
I was just going to say, as Robert Kennedy Jr., you pussies out there that need a vaccine, what the fuck are you doing? I'm ripped. I got a live-in wife. Her name is Cheryl Hines.
Now, if
And she-
anybody needs to be bullied, it's RFQ.
That dude sounds like he's just constantly trying to take a shit.
Yeah,
all the time.
exactly.
All the time.
Do we know what happened to his voice? I mean, I know he was a heroin addict, but that doesn't. You don't see heroin addicts walking around talking. What happened to him?
He probably got initiated at Bohemian Grove by the Clintons, and they damaged his voice box.
I think
I
he
don't
has
know.
said it happened at birth or something.
It happened what?
I think it happened at
That
birth.
doesn't even make sense. He
At
wasn't even
birth?
talking. He
No.
wasn't even talking at birth. How would he even sound? He
Because
wasn't even
the
talking.
umbilical cord wrapped around neck or some shit.
Ah, I feel bad if that's
So
the
his mother's-
situation.
his
Then I
mother's
should
like a
make
cook?
fun of him.
Hey, you know
I-
what? My back was
No.
broken at birth. I'll make fun of them. Ha ha.
Okay.
Quit trying like you sound like you're shitting all the time.
And I had the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck too, which explains a lot, right?
But the
brain
doctor shouldn't do that. The doctor should pull you out with forceps, not by using.
No, yeah, I was breech, C-section, upside down, with choking to death on the umbilical cord and all that kind of stuff.
Okay,
That
so
Explains a lot about. I don't know. I definitely
I-
have a lot of tardy mechanics in my life. I'm very
Ron,
Ron,
uncoordinated.
you have a bear eating your head.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bear eating your head. I
this-
like that.
so I looked up what's wrong with his voice. He's got spasmodic dysphonia,
yeah.
a chronic neurological voice disorder.
Can I ask what was the prompt you gave Google? Like, what the fuck is wrong with Robert F. Kennedy?
I typed in what is wrong with R, and
Kennedy.
it immediately filled out what is wrong with RFK Jr.'s voice. What caused RFK Jr.'s voice? It was just
Just
Wow.
just imagine that voice coming at you in the middle of the night. I'm ready to fuck Cheryl.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
conclude.
I gotta come right now, Cheryl.
Yeah. There.
Do you
He's
think
trying.
do you think he gives her facials and says, "Here comes the dad shot"?
The thing about
Terrible.
Kennedy, and I think the only reason that people, well, not the anti-vax people love him because of it. He's anti-vax with them.
Because he's an idiot, yeah.
But the Kennedy name has got this thing built around it where people we treat them like American royalty, but they're all fucked up in huge ways. Joe, I didn't even realize this. Joe had his daughter lobotomized. You know about Rosemary, the oldest sister?
But that was for her own good. And he also
That
put
was
her
for
up in
her
a very
own
nice
good.
place. And he also
No,
put her
I'm
in a very
definitely
nice
better
place.
off with my brain cut out.
Yeah.
She had to be lobotomized because she smelled
was a
like
woman.
chocolate chip cookies and a fish stock.
Yeah, and his father, RFQ's father, RFQ Junior's father, the RFQ Senior, was he was the head lawyer for Joseph McCarthy's blacklisting, communist Red Scare thing.
But that was only a
Hardcore
side
Republican
gig.
before he was a Democrat.
That was a side gig, though. He was trying to find himself.
But at the expense of freedom and free speech and all that stuff. So
He was conspiracy curious.
yeah. Anyway, I just don't get the Kennedy mystique, and John F. Kennedy, I don't think really lived up to the model that people think he was. Like he was one of the great presidents. No, the best thing he ever did,
Right?
get shot.
Yeah. That's the mystique. The mystique isn't that they're Kennedys. The mystique is that there are any Kennedys left. That's the mystique.
Honestly, that's
Because-
kind of yeah.
Well,
You
Teddy
know.
held his seat. He held the seat. He held the seat for like what 45 years or something.
Yeah, but it cost him. He never became part of the mystique. Except for the Chappaquiddick thing.
What do you mean? How did it cost him?
He never became president. He was always just Teddy.
He was
He was
also
always-
never shot. I don't think.
Yeah, he was the screw up. He was the screw up that couldn't get shot. Yeah.
He's the one that
Couldn't
didn't
get
push
shot.
enough buttons, I guess.
Yeah.
You know,
He was like every night he went to bed like, what do I have to do to get a bullet with my name on it?
I think he was good friends with Morton Downey Jr. You remember Morton Downey Jr.? You
Yeah,
guys?
yeah.
Big Mouth.
Yeah,
Which is it's hard to see that the best buddies, but Morton Downey Jr. grew up on Martha's Vineyard. His father was a Irish singer or something like that. Anyway, so yeah, all that the Kennedy mystique, I think it's just like it's phony. It's all built on phoniness, and so that's what he's cashing in on to a lot. especially these people. Am I going to name names? These comedians and Hollywood people who are now attaching themselves to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who they don't really know much about politics. All they know about is, I want to say I was best friends with a Kennedy. Like, that really hasn't. Yeah, well, they're all a bunch of murderers, mobsters. You might as well say, a Gambino or a Gotti. I'm friends with.
Yep.
They were all. It's all fruit of the mob, Irish
Mhm.
mob rather than Italian mob, but it's still a mob. Anyway,
Well, unless you're a Shriver, you could be friends with a Shriver and be friends with a Kennedy without the. Isn't it like a Shriver is like a Kennedy without the baggage?
I don't know.
No.
A Schreiber,
Yeah, Maria Shriver wasn't
right?
she?
She was a
Isn't she?
cousin. I think Sergeant Schreiber, who was a mental
Sergeant,
case, right?
no,
Who
he had a band. Wasn't that Sergeant Shriver's Lonely Hearts Club band?
Yeah, yeah. He was a vice presidential candidate for somebody, right? Was it Mondale that first had him as a vice presidential pick, and then they found out he had all these like mental disorders, and he kind of washed out. But that was Maria's. Yeah, but the Skakels, I don't know if you know the Skakels
Yeah,
family are from.
they're the killing, aren't they from the Killing Tree branch of the Kennedys?
They are Kennedy cousins, but they are known rapers, and I
Right,
think
rapists. I was thinking kill. Yeah,
Michael Skakel divulged that he raped and murdered Martha Moxley.
right.
He said that in a AA meeting, and they wanted to say, well, that was confidential. It was not a confession. They couldn't use that against him. There was a big trial in Connecticut 25 years ago or so. But
Yeah.
he ended up getting convicted of that. But he thought he could get away. I'm a Kennedy. I'm entitled to. I should be allowed to murder women. I'm a
I
Kennedy.
mean, Teddy did it. Uncle
I
Teddy
think
did it.
I think
Ted,
that
that's what
family.
I mean.
I think that family changed their name to Kegels instead. Actually,
Man,
All right. Home of the famous cookie makers. Our
so
guest
they're
is
like elves. They're like elves in a tree. Then
Keebler
because
elves.
Keebler
yeah,
Elves. Okay.
Keebler elves. Yeah.
Our guest is patiently waiting to be introduced here, but I have to play a commercial. It's March Madness time. Have you guys been betting? You guys bet the house? Did you take a second mortgage? Did you bet on St. John's, who's not in any bracket? They didn't even qualify.
I bet my child's college savings on my roast last night and I lost, but it was
$12.
very easy thanks to my bookie. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I should have checked the MyBookie results on your comedy roast last night to see how you did instead of just assuming you won.
my
I'm
opponent
really
was plus
disappointed in you.
280.
I gotta
So
say, I hope you didn't say anything about being on this program, because as a loser, I can't be associated with a loser. If you were a winner, I would have been happy if you would have said, "Yeah, you can catch me on Mind Dog TV."
Willie's lost.
well, that's fair, but I do have a chance at redemption at the next roast battle
Right.
to come
You-
in third place and still make the rankings. So
well,
Now, GD, did you say Willie lost?
Willie's lost. No, Willie's
Oh,
lost.
he's lost. He totally
He's
lost.
lost.
Oh.
Yeah, no. But did he ever lose a roast battle? Probably. But you would also notice that he's not here. So
But you're looking for him.
I'm not. Actually. I haven't looked for him at all. I just say I don't know where he is. It's not like I'm actively. It's like having a missing child and not caring. Not even bothering to call missing
And he
person.
wound up being raised by Asians for 3 days.
That's true. Anyway, I don't know how we got here from MyBookie, but MyBookie right now is got their experts. Here's the thing: I've been getting copyright slams for the music I used in the commercial, and every day having to go back and say it's my music, get off my back. But every time I air it, YouTube is like hit me with a copy, and then I have to go through the whole thing of proving that it's my music. So I changed the music. The music it's still got the AI voice, so
So how do
Evil
you
Ian
prove that it's your music? Do you just send them a little note that says it's my music? See, and how do you prove it? Do you show them? Do you send them copies of your copyright thing, or
I have licenses that I hand out through when I put this stuff online, it's licensed under my name. That's the problem, because some of this music is available for people to buy on stock music sites. It's my music. I put it up there, but they see that it's on a stock music site. They assume, oh, you're using somebody else's music. Yeah, look at the name. The channel is under Matt Napo, and it says produced and written by Matt Napo on the copyright. You would think they would look at that, but no, all they look at is
those damn
they're
bots,
probably thinking
man.
it's the other Matt Napo who
lots of Matt Napos all over the place. Yeah. Anyway, we have to move along. We have to play this commercial so we can get to our guest. So go to mybookie.com, find out who to bet on, and then mortgage your house. Take a second mortgage on your house and bet it all. And you're gonna just be a overnight millionaire. Then you can be a stay-at-home girlfriend, stay-at-home boyfriend.
What's the over?
The experts at MyBookie have created the ultimate NCAA March Madness betting guide to help you make the best bets throughout the tournament. Throughout this betting guide, the pros will go in depth on the best teams, players, and bets throughout the entire NCAA March Madness tournament. 2024 March Madness 85th edition of the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Tournament tips off Tuesday, March 19th to Monday, April 8th, 2024. Go to mybookie.com/minddog and get up to $1,000 welcome bonus.
Oh, yeah. Now, if I get slammed because of that copyright thing on that one, I'm just going to be pissed. It's just too much time taken away from me. Now,
is there an over-under at mybookie.com that
copyrights?
How long Kim is going to take before she hates us? Is there an over-under?
Oh no, she came in pre-hating us, especially you. I when I confirmed her for this program, I said there's going to be a black guy on there. He's like he's really hung up on racial issues. He's a bad joke teller, and I don't know why I have him on the show. Quite frankly, basically, I want to prove to the world that I'm not racist and want to have a black guy so I could say, yeah, I got a black friend in case anybody calls me a racist.
Hey, I was just going to say I needed someone's fingers broke the other day. So I went to mybookie.com and had it done.
Wow. I did not know they have that service there. That's a good add-on, a good, I guess, what do they call that? An add-on service, right? That's what
it's in the pilot stages right
All right, let's move on. Kim Burns is a stand-up comic, writer, and show producer, podcast and radio personality. Now it says from Rye. I think it's from Rye, New York. Anyway, let's welcome her in. Good morning, Kim.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
We're doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. It's like, you know what? I have 3 sons, so you clowns don't scare me. I'm just putting it out there.
Now, Rye, New York. Is it Rye, New York?
It's Rye, New York. It's Raw, New York.
Roy?
Raw. Yeah, don't you know? It's where white people move to breed.
Wow.
It's like salmon. It's like salmon or salmon. Did you say salmon or salmon?
Just telling you.
It's in American Pie. Good old boys are drinking whiskey in rye. It's not whiskey and rye. Both people think it's
the same thing. Not the same thing. Yeah.
Tell me about your stand-up and stand-up career. How long have you been doing stand-up?
You know, I think I want to say about 15 years, but really actively 12. When I moved from Manhattan, I moved to Rye, and it was highly recommended by my psychiatrist that I not do that because it wasn't going to last in a town like this. So what I decided to do was I was a writer and I would become a stand-up comic. So when I acted out, people would say, she's just a comic. It was the way to get by. Yeah.
Is that your main thing? Is it writing, podcasting, radio production? What is your?
It's always sort of, you have to be everything in order to be anyone. So what happens is you start out trying comedy, and it's very, very difficult if you've ever done it. It's hard to break into. It's difficult to perform. And so I got lucky because while I was doing that, I met somebody who was years ahead of me in the field, and she had an opportunity to have a co-host on a radio show, WDCH, and that was me. So we did that for 7 years, and it kind of goes hand in hand. So the more stand-up you're doing in the city, the better you are live radio. You should just take note on that. But anyway, so it really accelerated together. And then the more popular you got on radio, the more popular you got in comedy, and back and forth, back and forth. Then I left radio and started doing podcasts about 3 years ago. And I'm all over the place with that. I love it. It's comics, it's authors, it's whomever. And so it's been a really fun adventure. It's great, actually.
Now, what is the more poverty inducing, stand-up comedy or podcasting?
You know, all of the above. It's shocking. So here's the trick. You performing in the city, initially, of course, you make absolutely zero, right? So then you get tricky and clever, and you realize that if you're popular enough, you can do charity events and they pay. So I produce a lot of shows, and then I hire the comics and I pay them, but somebody else is paying us. And that is really the best route to go. The podcast pays better than radio did, but that just happened. I just happen to be unlucky. I know it's all actually hugely pathetic. And I was in the corporate world for 14 years, and I'm like, oh, this is so brutal. Anyway,
Right.
Yeah.
I think I coined the phrase poverty inducing. Like, it almost makes it sound like poverty is something you would desire to aspire to.
Really, it's really how big an ass can I make of myself while not being paid to do so? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought poverty was just a perk of being a comedian and a podcast. I thought it was just a perk. I didn't know it was inducing.
It's definitely self-inflicted for sure.
It's definitely self-inflicted. And I think the other thing is that it's just another thing to complain about, to add to your shtick, so
100%.
Because that's the thing with comedy, right? It's like for somebody like me, I don't really have something to hang my head on, like the black guy. Like, it's easier to be somebody of color who's using that as sort of their backdrop for their jokes. And I don't mean it in a derogatory way at all. I mean, my friend Zarna Garg is Indian, and she's gone right to the top because she's just playing the Indian card. So it's sort of like I walk into these clubs in New York and they're like, yeah, who's the white mom? So it's, and nobody cares about your kids, by the way. I mean,
they don't just call you Karen now? Karen Burns.
But I'm so not a Karen in real life that I can't play that either. So it's sort of like what it is that what's fun about comedy, and I think you'll agree the same with radio and podcasts or what have you, is the level of honesty that you're able to put out there that other people aren't allowed to do in their minds, which is actually not true, but it's the way a lot of people think. So that's like their own self-preservation.
Right. I was supposed to be, and I put it off now till June 4th, documenting Stand-Up University's full semester where people go to learn to be a stand-up comedian. And I was thinking, as part of the introductory testimonial, like interviews for the people who are taking the class, to ask them, have you always wanted to be a stand-up comedian? Was this something in your mind? But now I've changed that to, have you always wanted to be poor? Have you always wanted to experience poverty firsthand? Is that why you're doing this? I mean, what do you hope to get out of this? Because I think a lot of people don't realize, you go to see a stand-up comedian, and obviously all I have is people go to see Rob Schneider, so they don't know. But audiences assume that you're in show business, you must be making money.
No, I know they do, until you let them know that that's not true at all. And I want to tell you, so I teach a comedy class at the Rye Art Center, and tonight is my final show with my comics. And I told one of them, I said, you're bringing the wine because people are going to need it. And let me tell you that half of them dropped out, and then the people that are left, maybe two, can tell a joke. So it's a really, really, really difficult thing to do. And it's a really difficult thing to teach because people don't understand the difference between yapping, storytelling, and punchlines.
Right.
Yeah. And it's really difficult. And I think the main thing, if you do that, is you really want to ask the people who are involved in it is, what do you expect to get out of it? Because
Exactly.
I think, it's really like, yeah, you're not going to make any money. The chances of becoming somebody in comedy are very tricky. That's what I was saying earlier about you got to do all this other stuff. You got to fill it in. You got to be able to have a bigger resume than just that. So you really have to say to them, what's the end result for you? And for
Right.
some people, it's that they're good writers or their minds are going 80 miles an hour. It's a good exercise in, communication. And I think a lot of people took my class because they wanted to do a toast at a wedding and not make an ass out of themselves.
No, I get it. Yeah, not everybody who takes a comedy class is in it to be a stand-up comedian or professional stand-up comedian. But I was talking to Rich, who runs, he's one of the two teachers at the class that I'm going to be doing a content piece for starting June 4th. And he was talking about lawyers, one lawyer took it and to help with his courtroom presentation. If you can make a jury like you, if you can become likable to a jury, your chances of winning a case are better. And he went to the class for that reason. And then he enjoyed it and saw the benefits in the courtroom so much that he tried to get the entire firm to sign up. And they were like, no, we're not taking those. People are reluctant to, but there are people like that. So they get into
Hey, I'm married to a lawyer. This would have benefited him. I'm just saying from personal experience.
I thought maybe you
Yeah.
were a criminal, a lifelong criminal. It's always good to have a lawyer at home.
Yeah, I know. Just have one that happens to sleep in the same room. But I think the deal is that what people have to always remember, it's about being likable in all situations. So whether you're in the courtroom, I mean, when you're on a stage, you have to be a little bit edgy. I tend to lean more toward the sophisticated side of it. I like big words, but if you're not likable, nobody's going to listen to you. So
See,
I
I agree with you, but I'm seeing a rise of people who in comedy who seem to be doing well, at least by their social media presence and the fact that their tour calendars are filled up, who are just like really despicable people, not likable at all, even in their stage persona. I don't want to name names, Dave Smith, but
Bobby
people.
Lee.
Yeah. People are just rotten people, not likable and becoming successful. So I agree with you in principle, and I agree that's the way it should be. But I'm seeing I don't know if it's a shift in that really unlikable people.
Well, I mean, some people get lucky too. I mean, maybe they have a shtick for a certain amount of time and it works, but I don't think there's longevity in it.
Right.
But who am I to say still make no money? I mean,
Right.
it's a minimal amount of money, right?
Well,
But
I've seen it happen locally too. So,
and sometimes if you stick around long enough, some of those people just go upwards just because they have been around so long. And they
It's like a corporate mentality. You've been here for 30 years. You deserve a promotion, whether you've been productive or not.
I suppose. I don't know. It takes all kinds. Everybody can't be the same, right? That's the thing about comedy. I mean, that's the thing that's good about it is that, you look at these people and you're like, where in the world is this guy coming from? But as a comic, you always learn from them regardless, because there must be a message that they're giving that resonates with people. At what level? Well, I'm sorry, but why do we hate politicians that are rotten people? Because it makes us feel better because we relate to them. I mean, it's really what the bottom line is. Okay,
No,
so if you're a crappy audience member, then maybe you like that crappy guy on the stage.
So you're right. Yeah. They are. I mean, who am I to really call somebody a rotten person? By the way, I don't know if you listened to the Open this morning, but my cookie thing was not that well received around the world.
It's your recipe. It's your recipe.
It's my recipe.
It's definitely the recipe.
Just to be clear, I never really made cookies other than the kind where I get the rolls where you just cut them out and you put them on a cookie tray. It's not like I make the batter or any of that.
But did you ever just eat the batter raw, or is that not? No.
No, not me.
That's not healthy. That's not safe.
Yeah, that was big. That was big in high school.
My wife will do that. I don't. I can't. But whatever.
Those are the same people that eat lead chip paints, right? Lead paint chips. I'm not sure.
No, I don't think so.
No, I like cookie dough. Look at me.
See, raw, right?
It puts you in a wheelchair.
It did put me in a wheel. That's true. That salmonella is a hell of a thing to get rid of, but it's so good.
Yeah, I had that once. That's tricky. That stuff is bad.
It really is.
Yeah, collapsing organs, that kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, your class, do you teach how like your tonight is graduation? They perform an actual show tonight, right? Or your
Yeah. So
commencement?
what the deal is that I say to these people, I'm like, okay, you're going to learn to do a 5-minute set because it's a standard industry, right? When you're going in, I mean, some places you go to an open mic, they'll only give you 3 minutes, which is really terrible because you can't say anything in 3 minutes. And 5 is really hard, and then 5 is really long, right? So there's this. It's where do you go with it? But I wanted to teach these particular people, if you have a 5-minute set, you're going to be really proud of yourself. So every week they had to add a minute to what they had done the week before. So it was like baby steps. And then inevitably, it's absolutely hilarious because they would come in and they would start from scratch. I'm like, you can't do that. You have to build on it, right? And you have to rework it. And then I was sort of, the biggest thing is like teaching people to write the whole thing out and then eliminate 80% of the words because it's the over talking because you never get to the punchline then. So yes, so tonight is their 5-minute set. And, in a club, you guys probably know, you get the light, right? Depending on if you're doing 5 or 15 or whatever. And if you go over, they'll shut you down. I mean, they'll have hosts come up, they'll make an ass out of you, all that sort of thing. So I'm not going to do that to my people tonight, but they'll be on a stage with Mike and they have friends and family coming and, you make a deal out of it so that they feel like heroes.
I got to be able to get a light that I can point at GD every once in a while. Just point at him to shut him up. Like
very effective. Yeah, very effective. So that, it's a lot of fun. And the thing is that it's there will be an audience and we'll be talking about, I'll do 5 minutes to make them feel really bad about what amateurs they are, but oh well. And in that case, like we were talking about earlier, likable, it's like you're all over the place, or I am, with the topics, but you're cautious about never having a hard line on anything. So in other words, it's like, I may have my opinions about Trump, but I'm not necessarily going to display those as much as the general idea of the idiocy of this presidential race.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think we're in a time where people exchange stand-up comedy for getting on a soapbox. And because we've had so many in the past, we've had so many great stand-up comedians who incorporated political satire into their act, that some people think just talking about what you don't like in politics right now is stand-up comedy. They're confused.
I mean, it's like sitting next to a board at a dinner party. It's like, I really don't want to hear it. I mean, like if you don't have something clever to say about it, shut up. I mean, sorry. It's really because what the other people don't get, it's like young guys who come into clubs and talk about jacking off the whole time, and it's like, okay, I'm glad that's how you spend your time, but there's nothing clever about it,
Right. Yeah.
So it's the same thing with politics. It's you're just jacking off. I mean, you're just saying things to make yourself feel better or what have you without ever writing good material. You're just spouting off opinion.
Right. Yeah.
There's a difference.
Do you teach the class by yourself, or do you have somebody else teaching it with you?
No, I'm way too bossy to have any sort of assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like to do the whole thing myself. Yeah.
Interesting. I had a very long talk with Rich, who does it with their partner, and they like good cop, bad cop type of thing, which I think is a good comic, bad comic, or but you need somebody who is a disciplinarian, somebody who's going to hold your feet to the fire and make sure, because there are a lot of dropouts and a lot of people, and this is where I wanted to go with you. People come in with a chip on their shoulder, thinking they are ready to be a national headliner. I'm, this delusion about my friends tell me how funny I am, I deserve to be a national headliner, and then they find out the reality of trying to make strangers laugh. and how difficult it is, and structuring your thing like a professional. It's an eye opening thing for a lot of people. Do you get have you had to be the bad cop and say, listen,
Oh,
I know you.
I'm the bad cop all the time. It's unbelievable. And the other thing is that I have one gentleman in my class. The rest are women because obviously men are cowards. But anyway, so the rest are women. And this guy was, talking about a lot about body parts. And
I mean, like a collection or
that would have been funnier, right? That would have been like, like the curiosity, cabinet or whatever. But he now his own, and I just had to stop him cold. I'm like, it has to be a really good joke for us to want to hear about your body part there. So that there is that sort of thing where I'm like, no, you just don't want to put yourself in that position of everybody just looking at you like, I'm getting a visual now.
Right.
You want to stay away from somebody getting a visual and just stopping cold. So yeah, all the time. Plus I also, you're also the good cop because you really are cheering them on so that they'll show up tonight and they'll feel good in front of whoever showed up for them. So you're really like, I'm really like, let's do this, and make them at least feel like they got something out of it. Or the other thing I think that you really have to think about if you're teaching any kind of comedy is stopping the world from having so many bores in it. In other words, if people were more cognizant of what they were saying and how it was being received, I think everybody would be happier.
You're preaching to the choir here, man. I'm the greatest offender of because my mouth, I have no filter. It just comes out and just creating lots of hate mail for myself, lots of.
I don't, what I think there's a difference. I mean, if you're being thoughtful and running at the mouth, that's okay.
Well, my problem is I name names too many times because I'm talking about issues that happen within the creative arts, and I know so many people in it, and so many people who either get a chip on their shoulder about something or making a case, and I comment on that a lot. Or like this morning, I was talking about comedians, national headliners who I know of who I can't understand how they even make it pay because they are traveling. They have to pay for air flights and hotels, and they're bringing in 11 people at the friggin' door at $15. How are they even making that possible? And I came very close to naming a few people, which I would normally just actually do, and that gets me in trouble.
Well, and the worst thing is that, which I refuse to do, is you got to play those crappy college towns. You got to play those horrible venues if you really want to get out there at that level. I mean, I got 3 boys. I'm like, I'm not doing that. So I took a couple of different routes. Now I do have to tell you guys that last summer I performed in Paris. That would be in France, France. And
not Paris, Illinois, because that's the one on my list. Paris, Illinois.
There was a Paris, Texas too, but this one happened to be in France, and it was at an English speaking club, and it was really fabulous and really interesting. And so one thing you do, or I do anyway, is I go online and I look at these opportunities to perform at clubs if I happen to be going there, like I'm talking to a club in Amsterdam right now. And then you go and you have these incredible experiences. But again, it goes back to sort of me picking what that will be instead of having to get on a bus and perform in Des Moines, because I'm not going to do it because there's going to be 10 drunk people there and it's going to cost me money. And in a lot of cases, it's a pay to play. You know that, right? I mean, you go to the open mics in New York City, which I do all the time, and you're paying $14 for one cheap drink and 5 minutes.
Right.
And you have to do it in the beginning and you have to get to know people. So that leads up to the very exciting news that I'm working on this TV show called Relentless, which is about myself and this other friend of mine who's a comic / actress and TikTok sensation. Anyway, so it's about suburban moms who actually do this, actually go to the city, have been doing this for years and years and years, and subject themselves to the ridicule and ridiculousness. And mean husbands who, think you're making an ass out of yourself. And so there are these like two lives that you're leading. And the one in New York is really about what it's like to survive as a middling comic. This isn't about stars. This is about the absurdity of people thinking they're actually going to be somebody and they never are. And it's really like, but it's sympathetic, but at the same time, it's ironic. And you're saying, oh my God, what are these people thinking? Except for maybe, are they not? So it goes back to your question of what are you going to ask your class of what they really want to get out of it. And that's what my whole show is about what are these people really getting out of this? And right now it's a mystery because I've just shot the pilot, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I find it fascinating. I really do.
I think there's a lot of how you define success and what it looks like, even if, like, what if the people want to get out of it is really a career in stand-up comedy. There are different levels of careers in stand-up comedy. And I know certain people, they get this idea of, I don't know, you can pick your top headliners, Nate Bargatze, Shane Gillis, Louis C.K., whatever, any of these people who are headlining or Saturday Night Live and whatever they're doing. That's one version of it. But I have lots of friends who have really successful careers, I think, the way I define success. They have a family, they have a home that they've paid for, they tour up and down the East Coast, or they play locally within a tri-state area, but they're constantly working, they're playing the Poconos and all that kind of stuff. They're not stars, but they are making a living. And so it's basically how you define success and what you really want out of it. Not everybody has to be, you don't have to be George Carlin, Richard Pryor, or Robin Williams to be a successful comedian. And I think
nor is anybody going to be that. I mean, like, it's so difficult and it's such a small percentage, but I agree with you completely because it's the sort of thing where I did all the other, like I did the higher education, I did the corporate world, I did all this stuff, I had the kids, and now I get to be on this wild adventure. So I don't feel like I missed out on anything, and my expectations are high personally, but I'm realistic about it, and it's not going to be as disappointing if I'm still at this level because I didn't give everything up to do it. It's just that I happen to find it fascinating, and just writing the material or like anything you read, instead of just looking at the news and being so sad and having another drink, it's like, oh no, write a joke about it instead. And so it's an amazing outlet for looking at things from a completely different perspective and then delivering that to the people that are sad and having that extra drink. And then you feel like not a savior, but you do feel like a messenger of sorts of like, oh my God, get this, guys. And that's the fun in it. It's really like, to me, it feels like giving back a little bit. And I might sound like I might be overstating it. Like, oh, you're not that good.
No, I get what you're saying. I don't think that's overstating it. You know what? You are adding value to the world. That I think.
Thank you. Yeah.
See, now I was thinking, I'm hoping that, because I teach a comedy class as well, and I'm hoping that none of my students are watching this because I have guaranteed all of them success at the end of the course. I've guaranteed every last one of them that they will be filling stadiums and selling out crowds.
If I may give you the light.
I hope you can sign a waiver.
I don't think there's anything wrong with guaranteeing them success, but they have to define what success is for themselves. So
but in my course, we guarantee that you will be the next. Matter of fact, we have a checklist, and you can sign up to be the next Carlin, the next Robin Williams, the next Richard Pryor.
I am going to be the next one because they're all dead, and I'm definitely on that list.
There you go.
So
I'm on the waiting list.
They check off, and then we groom them to be that, and it's a great 3-day course that we teach them how to be the next one of those, and then how to fill up a stadium.
Kelly Carlin is on my friends list here. I'm just going to message her that you're promising people to be her father.
There you go.
Her daddy, not her father, her daddy. There's a difference.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Okay, so what you guys don't know is that, and the people in my class don't know, is that whoever gets the most applause tonight gets to be a part of Ladies Comedy Night, which I've been doing in Rye for, it'll be 13 years this year. And I hire these top professionals from New York City, whether it's Arnagarg or Regina, DeChico or Jessica Curson. And I get 3 top comics, and it sells out in 5 minutes, and it's 200 women, and we raise lots and lots of money. But somebody tonight is going to be the 5-minute opener for Ladies Comedy Night in November, and it's a phenomenon. So there are ways to say, like, hey, look at you, you worked really hard, and here's
spread the word, folks.
gift.
Well, don't spread the word. It's supposed to be a surprise, right?
They don't know, right? They don't know.
Oh, it's a surprise.
Oh, it's not any longer, because we are heard everywhere.
Well, no, they're busy working on their sets, so they're not listening. So, yeah.
Well, hey,
I just wanted to mention when I started off, I took a comedy boot camp, and we had one guy who would not take any advice from the instructors. We had 2 instructors. He wouldn't take any advice. He knew it all. And when we finally did our show, he was so bad that people were laughing at how bad he was. And he didn't get it. And so when he was done, he was like, I killed. And we're like, no, you were awful. He's like, are you kidding? Did you hear all those people laughing? It's like, yes, they were laughing at how bad you were. And even then, he wouldn't listen to us.
Now, if I may,
I did okay.
Are you describing yourself in the third person? That's what I want to.
It's that nervous laughter of like, oh my God, this is so humiliating. There's no other way to protect yourself except to laugh. The shame.
Worse than getting embarrassed for somebody on stage. That's horrible.
He was so bad that like, he got the most laughs out of anybody because it was like he was really bad. And
I got the most laughs at him. Well,
no, that's why I'm afraid of this one guy that I have tonight. So I was telling some people that are coming, I'm like, I have a hand signal for you to laugh, and because I'm afraid, unless it's the bad laugh like that guy got.
Well, hand signals can be difficult to see from the stage, especially if the lights are like really strong stage lights. There is, I want to kind of segue into another segment of comedy mindset that is currently, I think it's a problematic one. How do I explain this? There are a number of pretty successful comedians on my social media stuff that I interact with on a daily. They've been writers for successful shows on television, comedy writers. They are outperforming, and they are bitter angry at the TikTok people. So, and Willie had brought up that when he was at Governor's, Willie, who was generally on this program, he was here in New York, and he was at Governor's, and he said that the guy who was headlining the main room was a TikToker. He basically is headlining because of his fame on TikTok, and all he had was like 15 to 20 minutes as a headliner. That's all the material he had. So the other people, the featured, were carrying the show. But there's this kind of resentment and bitterness at these people who are becoming comedy club headliners in TikTok. And a couple of them right now, I'm seeing threads on Twitter right now where I don't want to mention names, but successful head writers of television shows are just, hey, can you people, you TikTokers, can you just go to theaters so us real working comedians can actually have our opportunities and our club work back?
Yeah, okay. Well, that has everything to do with the fact that you'll get booked someplace because of your number of followers versus your talent. I mean, you guys know this, right? So I think it blows. And I think that, we can't blame TikTok because everybody's looking for an outlet and an opportunity. So like, who am I to say that's not the way for you to go? I'm not naming names either, but I know lots of people who became quasi-famous and on their way to being more famous because of TikTok. I'm not a TikTok person. I don't have anything against it because we're all desperate. We're desperate people. But there is a difference between the fact that there is a lack of looking at core talent in so many situations and thinking just because the guy's a little well known, he's going to have more people show up to the club, and that club's going to make more money, and I'm going to look better as the booker. And it's this whole circle, jack off circle. It's just like that is one of the biggest problems. So if you're not doing that, because I hate posting a million times on Instagram and look at me. And, then you're, to me, it's like, then you're bordering on the clown versus the comic. So there's a really, really fine line, but I think it's gone that way just naturally because of the way that people migrate to social media and don't know how else to evaluate people's talent.
Yeah.
Sad.
I think there's a double-edged sword here. Now, a double-edged sword probably is not the best way to, but the idea that there are limited opportunities out there in clubs, and way too many people calling themselves comedians these days, but resentment and bitterness is not a healthy thing. You really should be concentrating on your own career, but it's hard when you see people, because and Willie's perspective on this is like, you owe your audience more than 20 minutes. If you're charging people, headlining money to buy a ticket to come there, you owe them more than 20 minutes. There's that part of it too. But there's also this natural human instinct to say, this person doesn't deserve it. I've been working hard at this. And all of a sudden somebody just comes along, and because they have followers on TikTok, they're headlining a room, and then they find out they don't have enough material. That makes me more resentful on that. But you gotta keep that.
But that's ridiculous. You can't spend your time being resentful. It just, first of all, it ruins your own set or your own demeanor or whatever.
I really hope my students are not watching this. You can be. I teach resentful 101 in this. God.
Well,
you are ruining my class. You are ruining my class.
As a younger comedian who's just getting into clubs and booked into shows where some of these TikTok guys are involved, I kind of look at it from the other side of the fence. I'm like, you know what? He might suck. He might have very little time, but he's going to bring in a ton of people that I get to entertain, and I get to spread my name. So you know what? I hope he sucks in a way, because now I get to outshine him. I get to look like, the good guy, so that's kind of where I look at it.
No smoke here at all. Steven might not be the healthiest person physically, but he's probably one of the most healthy attitudes mentally of anybody I've ever talked to on this program. He's generally a very positive person, sees the good in every situation, and very cool guy, Steven. So.
You got to catch him when his meds are unbalanced. When his meds are off, he's off.
To the opposite.
How could you tell? How could you tell?
GD is one of the worst people I've ever met in my life, and I hope more people don't get to meet him or something.
Well, like with the TikToker stuff, the clubs are to blame as well.
Yeah,
because
100%.
Clubs, they don't want to pay, and clubs don't want to promote talent. They want the easiest route to bring people in, and that's why they're willing to put up with some shitty acts, because they're not thinking about that. They're just thinking about asses in the seats. Because
they're thinking about asses in the seats. They're thinking about 2 drink minimums. They're thinking about selling. That's the business they're in.
Well, you guys know that the biggest drag, which is why I decided to do this TV show, is the bringer stage. Steven, you know about the bringer stage, right? I mean, that is the worst nightmare of your life. It's like you can't perform at, let's say, Gotham at the early show unless you bring 25 people, and sometimes the numbers are astronomical. And I'm not going to name the names of the guy that runs that room, but I can't stand him because I did that. I did what I was supposed to do. I brought a million friends before they started not returning my texts, and then you're ready to perform, and he says, "You're not going up. I've counted your guests. You don't have enough." I mean, like literally in the middle of a show.
Right.
But you really did have enough. Like they just mess with you. And it's really horrible and frightening. So that's part of what I wanted to tell the story about in my documentary / TV show, is how unbelievably difficult and humiliating it is. Not only because you're dragging your friends and family who are like, oh my God, you're just not that good, because you're probably not, because you've only been in it 2 years or whatever. And then having club owners slam you because it's just not enough people, and there's not a lot of ways around that. So you have to get good enough where you can rise above it. And that's where they sort of weed out those that aren't hardy enough. And before I'm done talking, I just want to say that we were saying earlier about the whole like TikTok stuff and what have you, and the resentment. You know, that's why I tell people all the time, I'm like, sing and dance, do a podcast, do something else besides just making this your main focus, because you're going to want to hang yourself on a street corner. You know, if this is all you think is going to make you somebody, it's not going to work out well.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe this. You are ruining things. I just rented a street corner for my students to hang themselves that don't finish the course. You are like taking money out of my mouth, woman. I'm sorry, Kim. You're taking money out of my mouth. I can't believe this.
Why do you keep money in your mouth?
Yeah, I'm worried.
Can you trust the bank these days?
Have you tried your pockets though? Your pocket, at least it doesn't get wet.
I have my glucose monitor in my pocket.
I think it's food out of your mouth, food off the table, and money out of your pocket. I think you've got to get your analogies and your cliches straightened out here.
Oh, good. Man, I gotta
No
go.
wonder,
I'm done.
No wonder you're on this show.
I can't take this. I'm firing myself. I will. I'm goodbye. I'm done.
When's your class? Is your class? No, we left.
He's canceling, self-canceling. He comes self-canceling.
I like it.
What you're talking about, though, 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago now, I was starting in stand-up comedy, and I was successful, in my view, successful musician at the time, and doing bringer shows. And here's the deal: was you get 3 minutes of time, you have to bring 5 people with you. And basically, I would have to give up a paying gig, music gig that night, which would be anywhere from $250 to $350, somewhere in that range for the night, losing that much money to start with, then have to bring 5 people who expected me to pay for their dinner and drinks, because nobody. So I'd have to, my girlfriend.
Ruined their night to begin with.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think the bringer shows are not a huge thing in the Midwest. They're really not.
Really?
They're not huge anywhere anymore. New York City still has them.
Okay, I was gonna say I've
see
only been to one show where they asked us to bring people, and like me, for example, like I don't have family and I only have a couple friends, so I usually go to these things by myself, and they still let me perform. So yeah, I've never really ran into that, but I've heard stories like that. That's mind blowing.
You typically find them in the big metro areas like New York, LA.
Do they usually make exceptions if you're from out of town? Or is it still like too bad? Bring them.
It really depends on what you have to offer, because I've done shows because people have heard of me, or I met like a comic in Paris who was doing a show here in New York, and I don't have to bring anybody, and because he asked me.
Right.
So it depends. Like if they're doing the asking, then I'm gonna show up alone if I feel like it. But
Gotcha.
if you're going to them, you need to be able to provide your own audience, because you're a nobody.
Yeah.
Makes you feel great.
GD actually did fire himself. He had things to do, so he actually had to leave. He wasn't really.
Hi, buddy.
Fired. But there is a show in New York now. Again, I'm trying not to name names here. I'm just trying to reduce the hate mail just a little bit. Somebody I know who does a bringer show at Broadway Comedy Club in New York. It's at 5 p.m. Well, you're not going to get like a booming comedy audience at 5 p.m. a dinner show, and you have to pay. I think it's $5 just to get some 5 minutes of stage time, but and bring. I don't know how many people, but a certain number of people. Maybe it's 5 people, but it just doesn't make any sense why people would subject themselves to that kind of abuse when there are plenty of opportunities to find stage time to practice in front of real people, that you don't have to subject yourself to that kind of humiliation.
Well, I know the Broadway Comedy Club, and I want to tell you guys and tell all our listeners out there that I'm doing a big benefit for POTS. You guys know POTS out of the Bronx, part of the solution. They're the largest agency for feeding the homeless, like 37,000 meals a year. POTS in the Bronx, but our show on April 4th is at the Broadway Comedy Club. And it's going to be fabulous from the standpoint of all our proceeds are going to part of the solution for starving people in the Bronx. But
I
anyway,
believe
that's
that's Thursday, April 4th. I'm just looking it up here.
yeah.
April. Yeah. Now, what time is that show?
So that show starts at like 6:30.
Yeah, it's
And
weird. Early shows. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't leave the house. I don't leave the house until 7:30 if I'm going out, or 8
yeah,
o'clock.
I think, well, we're going to, because we're opening it and because it's a benefit, we have to have a few people talking and then bring the comics in. But, it's for a great cause. But the Broadway Comedy Club, I know it well. And there are ways around it where, it's one thing to be insulted where, you have to pay X amount of money for your 3 to 5 minutes. And it's another thing to have to pay the money and bring the people. So it better be a real stage where you have real potential to either be seen or have an incredible experience so that you can, collect videos for YouTube that nobody watches.
Yeah. It just occurred to me about bringer shows in places like New Mexico or South Dakota. There aren't people to bring. So bringer shows would be like bring 5 cows.
He's like, right, nobody's coming anyway, so what does it matter?
Yeah. I'm just going to say that for musicians out there, understanding the comedy world can be very therapeutic because we always thought of ourselves as, that whole thing where the club owners say, we're gonna be a little bit short of the contract tonight because you didn't bring enough people. We have it so much better. Musicians have it so much better in comedy. You should once you start understanding the comedy world, you'll feel much better about your music career, no matter where you are.
Yeah. I know it's really true because I had a band in high school, just so you know. So I was like one of those rock girls. But
I can see that.
I think, yeah, oh yeah, it was a blast.
Oh, yeah.
And I still storm the stage constantly. And thank God I have friends who are like, yeah, not tonight. But I'm cautious with it because usually if they have a female singer, I'll approach her on the side first. And then if she's not overjoyed that I'll be joining the band, then I sort of, back off. But anyway, so no, what I was going to say is that I think that comedy in itself is just such a huge personal challenge. So sometimes I can't really explain to people, except for the fact that I've always been a writer my whole life, why I do it, except for it's like if you guys play golf, which I'm not sure, but except for playing a real great round of golf or even like skiing beautifully one day, it's the same sort of thing that you really don't believe you just went out there and perfected something that's almost impossible. And so for me, that's kind of what it is if you can accomplish that, then, on the deathbed, you're not really wondering how you spent your time, which is such a better place to be.
Right. We have to say goodbye to Governor's Comedy Club right now. It's they're getting ready to do Knock 'em Dead comedy on this on the Governor's Comedy Network. I just want to say that this weekend at the main room in Levittown, Brad Upton is doing the weekend, March 22nd and 23rd. Tickets still